Games are, by nature, things that are meant to be played by one or more people with a set of rules on how to play and, more importantly, how to win. Video games, then, are just games projected onto some sort of screen. Sometimes there's games that make you wonder if you're even playing a game, and then there's cases when you wonder if the game is playing you. The Stanley Parable is a game categorized as a walking simulator, a game in which you really don't do much else besides walk around and follow some sort of storyline. In the game, you play as Stanley, an employee of some sort of company whose sole purpose is to press buttons on his keyboard as they appear on screen. One day, he notices nothing appearing on his screen and decides to go see if anyone in his office knows what's wrong, but to his amazement sees that the office is devoid of people. The whole game is narrated by a self-proclaimed narrator who dictates what Stanley should do in order to progress the story.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
The game is all about choice, and what you choose to do will change the outcome of the story, leading to one of its many endings. For instance, the choice you make the most is between these two doors.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Picking the wrong door, the narrator treats the choice as a minor inconvenience and attempts to get you back on track.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
The more you deviate from the predetermined story, the more the narrator begins to talk to Stanley, expressing his anger for changing it.
You, what? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others?
The game has constant fourth wall breaking events, from the narrator checking his script.
Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down, right, left, down, left, right.
To having the player playtest new games.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
He will constantly restart the game in order to keep the story going on its intended path.
How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
In his attempt to keep the story going, the narrator even yells out to anyone else nearby during the broom closet ending.
Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer.
There's a common theme about control throughout the game. In the bomb ending, he teases Stanley for his lack of control in the situation.
I have to say this, though. This version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich.
However, there are plenty of instances where the narrator doesn't seem to be as powerful as previously thought. In the confusion ending, the narrator seems a bit scared at the fact that he doesn't have any control over the events.
My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this?
One of the big examples of this has to do with pulling the phone plug.
Stanley, did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly. Wait a second. Did I just see? No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person.
Realizing that he has to deal with a real person now, he isn't too thrilled at the prospect of dealing with someone who isn't focused on getting to the end of the story.
I'm sorry, is there a problem? You didn't mishear me, did you? Please speak the code into the receiver. Otherwise, we can't get on with the story. This is a crucial step.
In another ending, the narrator ends up being narrated by another narrator. If that's not a loss of control, then I don't know what is.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws.
Now, I may have been calling this a game this whole time, but through the definition I gave earlier, it really isn't one. There is no way to beat the Stanley Parable. The narrator even references it in the bomb ending.
Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved?
Sure, you can get all the endings, earn all the achievements, but in the end, you're always sent back to either Stanley's office or to the two doors. So is it technically a game? Not really, it's more like an interactive story, just like the narrator wanted.
It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable.